Yeah, just before I take questions, I just want to acknowledge a couple things. One, condolences to Mark Scheifele and his family. I consider myself a Kitchener guy. He's his family's from Kitchener. Just courageous, what he did tonight. And I'm sure, his dad would have been really proud of him and what he did. And I'm sure his dad would have wanted him there. So tough night for him and anybody in the hockey world, that has been in a situation like that. So hats off to him, a courageous young man. And then the second thing I want to acknowledge is the Winnipeg Jets. I can't imagine there's a better coach team in the league than that coaching staff did with that group. I'm a little biased because we work in the West, but won the President's Trophy. They give you nothing. They play hard. They play as a team. Great leadership, but I think they should win the Jack Adams running away, in my opinion, with the job they did this year. So hats off to those guys too. All right, Taylor.
Pete, with such a heavy emotion going on the other side, how do you even approach your team going into this one? Yeah.
Well, we just tried to keep it business as usual. There's no real right answer to that. So, I think you saw the respect in the line after the game for what they were going through, and particularly Mark. But for us, it was important to take care of business, and I was proud of our group. We stayed in the moment, we stuck with it. This was a series where you were never going to feel comfortable. The offense was really hard to come by. There was no room out there. There was not a lot of power plays. And you know what? We world-class goaltender. We stuck with it, and I was proud of how we won that game tonight, because a less mature team doesn't win that game.
You just beaten two of the best teams in the league with a lot going against you. Just how proud are you of that, A, and then B, do you still have more? Do you still have another gear?
Yeah, it's hard to believe we're halfway, right? It sure feels like we've been through a lot. But that's the beauty of the NHL playoffs. We'll take a couple days. I think we got a lot left. I think I've said it here. I think we've got something special going on. We're going to have to prove it again. We've been to this spot the last 2 years and haven't taken the next step, so that's the challenge.
And you individually, you make the playoffs, you go deep almost every single time. How proud are you of that? To make the conference final yet again?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, what I'm proud of is our my coaching staff. I thought this series was won, and I shouldn't say this series. We're where we are this year in the playoffs because of our special teams and our goaltending. Our 5-on-5 play's been good, but our special teams and our goaltending have been exceptional, and that's Jeff Reese, Steve Spott, Elaine Nazardine. Those guys. When it goes the other way, when our power play was bottom of the league the first 2 months of the year, those guys took a lot of flack. So they should get a lot of credit, because that's carried us through 2 rounds and allowed us to get healthy and get Miro back in the lineup and get Robertson back in the lineup.
How important is a player like Sam Steele in a game this tight?
Yeah, depth. It's depth, and you learn a lot about people. In pressure, high intense situations, and Steeler has an unflappability. He rises to the occasion. I thought Mason Marchment did too tonight. I thought he was exceptional for us. Just a couple names. There's a long list of guys.
Ivan Dawkins, BS3 TV.
Yeah.
Great game, Coach. From what I understand, there is a warrant out for the arrest of Jake Ottinger. He has committed, in the words of Daryl Razor Ray, grand larceny. Talk a little bit about his play tonight.
Well, I think I alluded to that. I mean, our goaltending's been exceptional. Listen, he just went head-to-head with, maybe the MVP of the league and what everyone is saying is the best goaltender in the world, and he probably was this year in Hellebuck, and he went toe-to-toe with them, nose-to-nose with them the entire series. So, great character gut check by Jake, and he's delivering, at a real key time for us.
I thought Mr. Game 7 would throw the game tonight so he could get another opportunity. What can you draw on last year's experience in Edmonton, against Edmonton, and how they can kind of relate to this group?
Yeah, it's a good question. Every year is different. They're a different team this year. I think a lot like Colorado. They're a better team this year. They're a deeper team this year than they were last year. You see they're getting scoring from a lot of different places other than McDavid and Draisaitl, and they still have that element, obviously, every night. So I think it's a lot like the Colorado series where, we can look back at last year, but I think this is a different, better version that we're playing. And I believe we're a better version of ourselves from last year, too. So it's going to be a great test.
Thomas Harley, obviously game-winning goal. He's been outstanding in the playoffs and just a rock on this team. Your thoughts on his game?
Yeah, Harles is, if there's an MVP the second half of the season with what happened with Miro, I think it would have to be him. He went to a different level. We piled so much on his shoulders, from running the power play to playing against other teams' best players to transitioning the puck. And the kid just keeps delivering and delivering every night.
Hey, Pete, just curious, I know it worked out in the end, but Sam Steele's breakaway, curious your take on that penalty shot versus not, and then how you quickly flip that to let's focus on scoring on the power play.
I haven't looked at it. It didn't look like a clear-cut penalty shot to me. I don't know if it was or not, but we didn't spend a lot of time on that. We just wanted to dial in on the power play, and I think actually having the break and the fresh ice was a key part of that. The break came at the right time, and the fresh ice was critical, I think, in the first 2 minutes.
Jim Montgomery talked about the chess match that had gone on between he and Scott Arniel in the first round. Could you give us an idea of what that felt like for you, the X's and O's battles that went on as this series went on?
Yeah, well, I think I alluded to the fact I got tremendous respect for Arnie and that coaching staff. I think it was the best coach team in the league, hands down, this year. And, we saw that during the playoffs. He was looking to find his matchups. He was working for certain matchups. He made adjustments between games. They played short too. Morrissey going down for them, is obviously a big hole for them, and they still grinded through. So, big, much respect for him and that staff.
Pete, Coach, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Coach, you mentioned a couple weeks ago that you thought coming off last year's playoff loss to Edmonton, you were the better team. That's what made it harder.
Yeah.
Having said that, do you want this one? I mean, I know you want to get to the West Finals, but did you want Edmonton to sort of get a shot at them for what you weren't able to do last year?
Yeah. Boy, I don't know if you ever asked to play Draisaitl and McDavid, but we knew going in. I mean, what a gauntlet of teams. Colorado, Winnipeg. Winnipeg's the President's Trophy winning team. Colorado, everyone had, as maybe the next best team in the league. And now we get Edmonton, who everyone has said has probably been the best team in the playoffs so far. So I'm not sure we're wishing to play anybody. I'm not surprised we're getting, another elite team and a really tough test, and we've got to make sure we're ready to go. But the way this is rolled out sure hasn't been easy.
Yeah, Pete, you just eliminated Winnipeg. Now you're playing Edmonton. You're a coach on the Canadian national team. Are you torn by this split personality life you're leading there?
the Canadian representation is always close to my heart when we go to those events. But any other time, right now I'm Finnish. I'm a big Finnish fan.
Two more questions.
Pete, we talk so often about how teams develop, how teams change. I'm just curious, from your perspective, how have you developed, especially being in this position again? Does your approach change? Do your emotions change?
You know, one, you never take it for granted. It's so hard to get here. You know, you see teams. There's teams that have gone decades without winning a round of the playoffs. Never mind get to the third round 3 years in a row. So you never take it for granted, and you realize how hard it is. And then when you get there, you know, you want to make sure you take advantage of the opportunity. And you know, you hope you have enough gas in the tank. You hope you can stay healthy. You hope you can get all the same things apply. You got to win some overtime games. Our special teams are going to have to still be elite. Our goaltending is going to have to be great. You know, I think our group's matured through the journey we've gone on the last 2 years, and hopefully we can take that into this series.
Pete, do some of the guys in the room want revenge for what happened last year? And then, two, you would think on the other side that Edmonton's, you know, looking for revenge after last year's Cup. So, like, how do you balance that factor?
Yeah, well, you've got two hungry teams that have been really close and haven't gotten there yet. So, you know, it's going to be a battle of wills here. You know, they're a little more rested than us. I heard we're not starting till Wednesday, which helps us get a little refreshed here. Should be a great series. Thank you.